Millionaire Secrets. 1. Own the first hour, win the day. The alarm screams at 5 in the morning, and most people reach for their phone before their feet hit the floor. They scroll through messages, news alerts, and social media updates, letting the world dictate their mental state before they've even brushed their teeth. By the time they start their actual work, their mind is already scattered across a dozen different priorities that belong to other people. Millionaires do the opposite. They guard their first hour like a fortress, because they understand a fundamental truth about human psychology. Whoever controls your attention first thing in the morning controls your entire day. When you check your phone immediately upon waking, you're essentially handing over the steering wheel of your mind to everyone except yourself. Consider Sarah, who built a consulting business that generates 7 figures annually. For 3 years, she started every morning the same way most people do, diving straight into emails and putting out fires. She felt busy and important, but her bank account told a different story. Her breakthrough came when she realized she was spending her peak mental energy on other people's urgent tasks instead of her own important ones. The shift was simple but revolutionary. Sarah began protecting her first 60 minutes with the intensity of a bodyguard protecting a celebrity. No phone, no email, no exceptions. Instead, she used this sacred time to think clearly about her 3 most important outcomes for the day. Not her 3 most urgent tasks, but the 3 things that would actually move her business forward. This distinction between urgent and important separates millionaires from everyone else. Urgent tasks scream for attention but rarely create wealth. Important tasks whisper, but they're the ones that compound over time into serious money. The first hour of your day is when your willpower is strongest and your focus is sharpest. Spending this premium time on other people's priorities is like using your finest tools to dig ditches. The magic happens in those quiet moments when you can actually hear your own thoughts. Most people live in such constant noise that they've forgotten what their inner voice sounds like. They mistake the chaos in their head for productivity, when really it's just expensive therapy. Millionaires use the first hour to reconnect with their core intentions, to remember what they're actually trying to build. During this protected time, they don't just plan their day, they architect it. They identify the single most important task that will create revenue or move them closer to their goals. This isn't about making a long list of everything they need to do. It's about finding the one thing that makes everything else easier or unnecessary. Think about a sculptor working with marble. They don't start chipping randomly at the stone. They spend time studying the material, visualizing the final piece, planning their first few cuts. Those initial strikes determine everything that follows. Your first hour is your chance to make those crucial first strikes on the day ahead. The 10-minute goal review that follows is equally critical. Most people set goals in January and forget them by February. Millionaires review their goals daily, not because they're obsessive, but because repetition creates clarity. When you remind yourself every morning what you're working toward, your subconscious mind starts recognizing opportunities and resources that align with those objectives. This daily goal review isn't about reading the same words over and over. It's about asking yourself hard questions. Am I making real progress or just staying busy? What specific actions today will move me closer to these outcomes? What should I stop doing because it's not serving these goals? These questions force you to confront the gap between your intentions and your actions. The most successful people also use this first hour to review their key metrics. Not in obsessive detail, but as a quick temperature check on what's working and what isn't. They look at the numbers that actually matter for their business or career, not vanity metrics that make them feel good but don't translate to profit. Revenue, conversion rates, customer retention, profit margins, the pipeline of future opportunities. These numbers tell the real story of whether your daily actions are creating wealth or just creating motion. Many people avoid looking at their numbers because they're afraid of what they might find. Millionaires look at them every day because they'd rather confront an uncomfortable truth early than a devastating reality later. The discipline required for this first-hour ritual isn't natural for most people. We've been conditioned to be reactive, to respond immediately to every notification and request. Breaking this pattern feels almost rebellious at first. You might worry that you're missing something. Important that someone needs you urgently. Here's what you'll discover. The world doesn't fall apart when you delay your responses by an hour. In fact, most of those urgent messages resolve themselves or reveal their true priority level by the time you get to them. The few genuinely urgent situations that require immediate attention are rarer than you think, and they'll find a way to reach you if they're truly critical. The compound effect of owning your first hour is extraordinary. When you start each day with clear intentions and focused energy, you make better decisions throughout the day. You're less likely to get pulled into time-wasting activities because you have a clear picture of what actually matters. You approach challenges from a position of strength rather than reaction. People around you will notice the change, though they might not be able to identify exactly what's different. You'll seem more purposeful, more in control. You'll waste less time in meetings that don't serve your goals, spend less energy on drama that doesn't deserve your attention, and make faster progress on the projects that actually matter. The first hour isn't just about productivity, it's about identity. When you consistently protect this time for your own priorities, you're training yourself to value your own objectives as much as everyone else's. You're building the muscle of self-advocacy that every wealthy person has developed. This single change, protecting your first hour, can be the catalyst that transforms everything else in your life. Not because it's complicated or mysterious, but because it's so fundamentally different from how most people operate. While they're drowning in other people's agendas, you're crystal clear on your own. 2. $1,000 task before noon. Most people confuse motion with progress. They fill their mornings with email, meetings, and administrative tasks that feel productive but generate $0. Meanwhile, millionaires identify the one activity that could create real value and attack it with laser focus before the world has a chance to derail them. The difference between wealth builders and everyone else isn't talent or luck. It's their ability to distinguish between what feels urgent and what actually pays. Every morning, they ask themselves one simple question. What single task, if completed today, could generate the most revenue or move my business forward significantly? Then they protect the next 2 hours like their fortune depends on it, because it does. This isn't about perfection or completing massive projects in one session. It's about making meaningful progress on work that compounds. The millionaire mindset recognizes that not all tasks are created equal. Responding to emails might take 30 minutes and feel productive, but closing a major deal, completing a key proposal, or solving a critical business problem can create value that lasts for months or years. Consider the small business owner who spends her first hour answering customer service emails versus the one who spends that same hour calling her 3 biggest prospects. Both are working, but only one is building wealth. The customer service emails will still be there at 2 in the afternoon, but those prospects might be unreachable later, distracted by their own fires and priorities. The power of this approach lies in timing and energy management. Your cognitive resources are finite, and they're strongest in the morning. Millionaires understand that their mental clarity, creativity, and decision-making ability peak in the first few hours after waking. Squandering this premium time on low-value activities is like using a race car to deliver pizza. You're wasting your most valuable asset when it's operating at maximum capacity. The process begins the night before with honest assessment. What one task, if completed tomorrow, would create the biggest impact on your income or business growth? It might be finishing a proposal that could land a major client. It could be making the call you've been avoiding that could unlock a new revenue stream. Perhaps it's completing the marketing campaign that could double your lead generation. The specific task matters less than your ability to identify it correctly. Once identified, this task gets sacred protection. No emails, no phone calls, no meetings, no exceptions. You guard this time like a fortress, because that's exactly what it is. A fortress protecting your financial future from the siege of trivial demands. The world will try to interrupt with urgent requests, notifications, and fires that need putting out. Let them wait. Most urgent things aren't actually urgent when examined closely, and the few that are can usually wait 2 hours. The physical environment matters enormously during these focused sessions. Millionaires create conditions that support deep work rather than fighting against distractions. Phone goes into another room or airplane mode. Email programs close completely. Desk gets cleared of everything except what's needed for the task at hand. Some even work from a different location entirely, treating this time like an appointment with their future wealth. Time blocking becomes crucial here. Instead of hoping to find time for important work, millionaires schedule it like any other non-negotiable appointment. They might block 7 to 9 in the morning for high-value tasks, treating it as seriously as a meeting with their biggest client. Because that's essentially what it is. A meeting with the person responsible for their financial success. The resistance will be intense at first. Your brain, trained on the dopamine hits of email responses and quick task completion, will rebel against sustained focus on challenging work. It will manufacture reasons why you need to check messages first, why that phone call can't wait, why the important work would be better tackled later when you have more information. These are lies. Your comfort zone tells to keep you mediocre. Successful wealth builders push through this resistance by starting small but staying consistent. Maybe the first week, you only manage 30 minutes of focused work before distractions creep in. That's still 30 minutes more than most people invest in true value creation. The next week, you stretch it to 45 minutes. Gradually, your ability to sustain focus grows like a muscle, and what once felt impossible becomes routine. The compound effect reveals itself over time. While others spend months spinning their wheels on busy work, you make steady progress on the activities that actually generate wealth. Small daily advances on high-impact tasks create momentum that becomes unstoppable. The proposal you work on for 2 hours each morning gets completed and wins you a client worth thousands. The business strategy you develop in focused sessions transforms your entire operation. The skills you build during protected time increase. Your value exponentially. Measurement becomes essential to maintain motivation and ensure you're targeting the right activities. Track not just whether you completed your focused session, but what you accomplished and what results followed. Did that morning spent on sales outreach generate meetings? Did the time invested in product development lead to customer interest? Did the strategic planning session produce insights that changed your business direction? This feedback loop helps you calibrate your task selection and stay focused on genuine value creation. The beauty of this approach is its simplicity and immediate applicability. You don't need special tools, extensive planning, or perfect conditions. You just need the discipline to identify your highest value task and the courage to protect the time needed to advance it significantly. Every single morning presents this opportunity. Every single day, you can choose to invest your peak hours in activities that compound your wealth, rather than just fill your schedule. Most people will continue checking email first, attending unnecessary meetings, and saving their important work for later when they're tired and distracted. This creates an enormous opportunity for those willing to flip the script. While everyone else is busy being busy, you're building wealth one focused morning at a time. The path to financial abundance isn't paved with perfect days or grand gestures. It's built from the accumulation of mornings where you chose impact over activity, where you invested your best energy in your biggest opportunities, where you treated your peak hours like the precious resource they are. Make this choice daily, and watch how quickly it transforms not just your productivity, but your entire financial trajectory. 3. Calendar as a weapon. Most people treat their calendar like a suggestion box. They fill it with meetings that drain their energy, commitments that scatter their focus, and blocks of time labeled busy, without any clear purpose. Then they wonder why their days feel chaotic and their progress feels slow. Millionaires approach their calendar differently. They see it as the most powerful weapon in their arsenal, a precision instrument that creates wealth through intentional design. The difference between someone who earns 6 figures and someone who earns 7 isn't talent or luck. It's how they architect their days. While average earners react to whatever lands in their inbox, millionaires proactively schedule prosperity. They understand that time doesn't manage itself, and hoping for productive days is a strategy that guarantees mediocre results. When you look at a millionaire's calendar, you'll notice something striking. Every block of time has a specific purpose tied to a measurable outcome. They don't schedule work on project or catch up on emails. Instead, You'll see entries like, complete proposal for Johnson account, or record 3 training videos for course launch. This precision transforms their calendar from a passive record keeper into an active wealth-building machine. The first principle of calendar mastery is time blocking with surgical precision. This means dividing your day into distinct segments, each dedicated to a specific type of work. Strategy work gets its own protected block, typically when mental energy peaks in the morning. Sales activities cluster together to maintain momentum and mindset. Learning happens at consistent times to build compound knowledge. Even recovery periods are scheduled with the same respect as business meetings. Most people resist this level of structure, claiming it feels too rigid or controlling. But millionaires know the opposite is true. Structure creates freedom. When every minute has a purpose, you eliminate the mental fatigue that comes from constantly deciding what to do next. You stop wasting cognitive energy on scheduling decisions and redirect that power toward revenue-generating activities. The concept of non-negotiable blocks separates the wealthy from the wishful. These are calendar entries that cannot be moved, canceled, or compromised, regardless of what urgent request appears. A millionaire might block 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. every day for their highest value work, and this block becomes as sacred as a client meeting. When someone asks for time during this window, the answer is simple. I'm not available then. Here are 3 other times that work. This approach requires courage because it means saying no to people who expect immediate access to your time. But here's what happens when you protect these blocks consistently. People begin to respect your boundaries. They stop assuming you're available at their convenience and start working around your schedule instead of expecting you to work around theirs. This shift in dynamic is subtle but profound. It positions you as someone whose time has value, which naturally leads others to treat your services and opinions as more valuable too. Batching similar tasks into single windows creates another layer of efficiency. Instead of checking email throughout the day, a millionaire might designate 2 p.m. to 3 p.m. for all communication. Rather than taking random phone calls whenever they come in, they cluster calls into specific blocks where they can maintain the right energy and focus for conversations. This batching eliminates the startup cost of switching between different types of mental work. The key insight here is that every task requires a different mental mode. Writing requires deep focus and creativity. Sales calls need high energy and persuasive thinking. Administrative work demands attention to detail, but not necessarily innovation. When you jump between these modes randomly throughout the day, you waste energy on transitions and never reach peak performance in any area. Batching allows you to optimize your mental state for specific outcomes. Revenue-producing activities always get calendar priority. This sounds obvious, but most people violate this principle daily. They'll move a sales call to accommodate a meeting about office supplies, or they'll skip prospecting time to attend a conference call about a project that might happen someday. Millionaires flip this priority system. If something doesn't directly contribute to revenue or the systems that create revenue, it gets scheduled around the activities that do. This doesn't mean every minute needs to generate immediate cash. Learning, strategic planning, and relationship building are all investments in future revenue. But these activities still get measured and scheduled with intention. A millionaire doesn't just learn something new for 30 minutes. They study specific skills that will solve specific problems for specific clients, creating a direct line between today's learning and tomorrow's earning. Recovery and renewal also earn dedicated calendar space. This isn't scheduling time off because you've earned it. It's scheduling recovery because it improves performance. A millionaire might block Friday afternoons for exercise and reflection, not as a reward for a good week, but as preparation for a better next week. They understand that peak performance requires cycles of exertion and recovery, and they engineer these cycles instead of leaving them to chance. The physical act of moving items on your calendar becomes a skill worth developing. When urgent requests arise, instead of immediately saying yes or no, successful people ask, "What would I need to move to make this work?" This question accomplishes 2 things. First, it makes the cost of the new commitment visible. Second, it gives you negotiating power to propose alternative times or to suggest the request might not be as urgent as it initially seemed. Planning buffers between activities prevents the cascade effect of one delayed meeting ruining an entire day. Millionaires typically schedule meetings to end 10 or 15 minutes before the success. Next commitment begins. This buffer absorbs inevitable delays and provides transition time to shift mental gears. It also creates space for the unexpected opportunities that often arise at the end of productive conversations. The most advanced calendar users think in terms of energy allocation, not just time allocation. They notice which activities energize them and which activities drain them, then arrange their days to maintain peak performance for their most important work. A person might discover they have tremendous focus for writing between 6 a.m. and 8 a.m. but struggle with creative work after 3 p.m. With this knowledge, they can schedule writing during peak hours and save routine tasks for when their energy naturally dips. Some millionaires use a weekly calendar template that repeats the same basic structure each week, with specific blocks reserved for specific types of work. This template eliminates decision fatigue about when to do what, while still allowing flexibility for the specific content of each block. Monday morning might always be strategic planning time, but the strategy might focus on marketing one week and operations the next. The compound effect of disciplined calendar management becomes visible over months and years. When you consistently protect time for the activities that matter most, these activities get the attention they need to produce results. Your skills improve because learning time is protected. Your sales increase because prospecting time is sacred. Your systems get better because development time is scheduled. None of these improvements happen overnight, but they're inevitable when the right activities get consistent calendar priority. Your calendar should make your priorities visible to anyone who looks at it. If someone examined your schedule for the past month, they should be able to identify your top 3 business priorities without you explaining them. If this isn't true, your calendar is working against you instead of for. The transition to weaponized calendar management takes about 3 weeks of consistent application. During this period, you'll face pressure to abandon the system whenever urgent requests arise. Push through this resistance. Each time you protect a scheduled block, you're training yourself and others to respect the structure that creates your success. Each time you give in to urgency that isn't tied to real importance, you reinforce patterns that keep you reactive instead of proactive. Tomorrow morning, open your calendar and audit the next 7 days. Every block of time should have a specific purpose tied to a measurable outcome. If you see empty space or vague commitments, fill them with intention. If you see activities that don't serve your top priorities, start the process of eliminating or batching them. Your calendar should be a weapon in the war against average results, and weapons work best when they're sharp, precise, and consistently maintained. 4. Energy is greater than time. Most people chase more hours in the day when they should be chasing more power in each hour. Millionaires understand a fundamental truth that escapes the masses. Energy is the ultimate currency. You can have all the time in the world, but if you're running on fumes, those hours become worthless. A millionaire operating at peak energy in 4 focused hours will outproduce an average person grinding for 12 hours in a fog. The wealthy don't just manage their calendars, they engineer their energy. They treat their physical and mental state like a high-performance engine that requires premium fuel, regular maintenance, and careful monitoring. While others burn themselves out playing busy, millionaires optimize themselves for sustained excellence. Think about the last time you felt truly energized and sharp. Remember how effortless, difficult tasks became? How quickly you moved through your work? How creative and decisive you felt? That state isn't an accident or a gift from the universe. It's the result of deliberate energy management practices that millionaires build into every single day. The foundation of energy management starts with sleep, but not in the way most people think. Millionaires don't just get more sleep, they get better sleep through consistency. They fix their sleep window like a business meeting that cannot be moved. Whether it's 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. or 11 p.m. to 7 a.m., the schedule becomes sacred. Your body craves predictability, and when you give it a consistent rhythm, it rewards you with deeper rest and more natural energy throughout the day. But millionaires don't stop at setting a bedtime. They create wind-down routines that signal to their nervous system that it's time to shift gears. This might mean dimming lights an hour before bed, reading instead of scrolling, or doing light stretching. The routine doesn't need to be elaborate. but it needs to be consistent. Your brain starts preparing for quality rest the moment you begin your wind down. Sequence. Morning movement is another non-negotiable for the wealthy. They don't necessarily spend 2 hours at the gym, they prioritize 20 to 40 minutes of movement that primes their cognition for the day ahead. This could be a brisk walk, bodyweight exercises, or a quick session with weights. The goal isn't to exhaust yourself, but to activate your cardiovascular system and flood your brain with oxygen and focus-enhancing chemicals. Movement before mental work creates a compound effect. Your decision-making improves. Your patience increases. Your ability to see solutions instead of problems expands. Millionaires invest this small amount of time in movement because they know it multiplies the quality of every hour that follows. Nutrition becomes a strategic tool rather than an afterthought. Millionaires don't necessarily follow complex diets, but they understand how different foods affect their energy and focus. They pay attention to what stabilizes their blood sugar and what sends them into energy crashes. They notice which meals leave them sharp for hours and which ones make them sluggish within 30 minutes. The wealthy often eat fewer, larger meals instead of constantly snacking, because they've learned that stable blood sugar equals stable energy and clearer thinking. They hydrate deliberately, often tracking their water intake because they know even mild dehydration can reduce cognitive performance by 10 to 15%. These aren't complicated strategies, but they require the kind of self-awareness that separates high performers from everyone else. Millionaires also understand the energy cost of their environment. They pay attention to how different spaces, sounds, and even colors affect their mental state. They invest in comfortable chairs, good lighting, and organized workspaces not for luxury but for performance. They know that fighting a distracting environment drains energy that could be channeled into revenue-producing activities. Temperature control becomes part of their energy strategy. They keep workspaces slightly cool because warmth can induce drowsiness, while cooler air promotes alertness. They use natural light when possible because it supports their circadian rhythms and reduces the energy drain that comes from artificial lighting. The concept of energy management extends to emotional energy as well. Millionaires become very selective about the people they spend time with and the conversations they engage in. They've learned that toxic interactions can drain them for hours, while energizing relationships can fuel them for days. They don't cut people off harshly, but they do protect their energy by limiting exposure to chronic complainers, drama creators, and energy vampires. Millionaires also manage their information diet. They consume news and media strategically rather than passively. They've noticed how certain types of content leave them anxious, angry, or scattered, while other information sources leave them informed and energized. They choose their mental inputs as carefully as their physical ones. Recovery becomes as important as activity in the millionaire mindset. They build micro-recovery moments into their day, 5 minutes of deep breathing between calls, a short walk after intense work sessions, or simply stepping away from screens to let their eyes and mind reset. These small recovery investments prevent the energy crashes that derail average performers. Millionaires understand the power of saying no to preserve energy. They decline social events that don't align with their goals, avoid volunteer commitments that drain without return, and resist the urge to be available to everyone at all times. This isn't selfishness, it's energy allocation. They save their best energy for their highest value activities. They also learn to recognize their natural energy rhythms and work with them instead of against them. Some people are most creative in the morning, others in the evening. Some have sustained energy throughout the day. Others work better in intense bursts with longer breaks. Millionaires study their own patterns and structure their most important work around their peak energy hours. The wealthy treat rest as productive time, not wasted time. They take real vacations where they disconnect completely, knowing that true rest multiplies their effectiveness when they return. They take weekends to recharge, understanding that short-term discipline and rest creates long-term capacity for high performance. Energy management for millionaires also means learning when to push through discomfort and when to rest. They develop the ability to distinguish between the fatigue that comes from good, challenging work and the depletion that comes from poor energy management. One requires persistence, The other requires recovery. Most people treat their energy like it's unlimited and then wonder why they feel exhausted and unproductive. Millionaires treat their energy like the finite, valuable resource it is. They invest time and money in protecting it, optimizing it, and maximizing its impact. They understand that energy, not time, is what transforms ideas into income and dreams into reality. 5. Focus sprints, not marathons. The human brain wasn't designed for 8-hour stretches of intense focus. Yet most people approach their workday like a marathon runner who never learned about pacing. They sit down at 9 in the morning with grand intentions of sustained productivity, only to find themselves mentally exhausted by lunch and running on fumes for the remainder of the day. Millionaires understand a fundamental truth about human performance that escapes the masses. The mind operates best in concentrated bursts, not extended sieges. Think of your mental capacity like a high-performance sports car. You can drive at maximum speed for short distances, but if you keep the pedal to the metal for hours, the engine will overheat and break down. The wealthy have learned to treat their cognitive resources with the same respect a professional athlete shows their physical abilities. They work in powerful sprints followed by strategic recovery periods, allowing them to maintain peak performance throughout the day while others fade into mediocrity. The science behind this approach is compelling. Research shows that the human brain can sustain intense concentration for approximately 45 to 60 minutes before attention begins to wane. After this window, continuing to push forward often results in diminishing returns and increased errors. Smart money recognizes this biological reality and structures their day accordingly. They understand that 3 hours of focused work will always outperform 8 hours of scattered attention. Most people confuse being busy with being productive. They wear their exhaustion like a badge of honor, staying late at the office while accomplishing little of real value. The millionaire mindset rejects this theater of productivity in favor of genuine results. They would rather complete one significant task with laser focus than juggle 10 trivial activities throughout the day. This approach requires discipline because it means saying no to the constant stream of interruptions and distractions that define modern work life. The structure of an effective focus sprint is deceptively simple yet transformative in its impact. Before beginning any intensive work session, the successful individual defines exactly what they intend to accomplish. This isn't a vague notion like work on the project, but a specific, measurable outcome such as complete the financial analysis for the proposed acquisition or write the sales proposal for the Johnson account. Having a clear target ensures that the sprint has direction and, quote, prevents the mind from wandering into less important territories. Once the objective is set, the environment must be optimized for deep work. This means eliminating every possible distraction. Phones are silenced and placed out of reach. Email notifications are turned off. The workspace is cleared of clutter. Some millionaires go as far as working in completely separate locations during their focus sprints, understanding that changing the environment signals to the brain that this time is different and demands heightened attention. The actual sprint begins with what successful people call entry protocols. These are small rituals that help the mind transition from normal awareness to intense focus. Some prefer a few minutes of deep breathing or meditation. Others review their goals or visualize successful completion of the task. The specific ritual matters less than its consistency. The brain learns to associate these actions with deep work mode, making it easier to achieve focus quickly. During the sprint itself, single tasking becomes sacred. The temptation to check messages, answer quick questions, or handle urgent interruptions can feel overwhelming, especially in the quartered. The beginning. Millionaires have learned to treat these impulses like a muscle trying to get stronger. Each time they resist distraction and return attention to the primary task, they build their focus capacity. They understand that multitasking is simply a way to do several things poorly instead of doing one thing exceptionally well. The power of focused work becomes evident quickly. Tasks that might normally take 4 or 5 hours of interrupted effort can often be completed in 90 minutes of concentrated attention. The quality of work improves dramatically because the mind can hold more complex information and see deeper connections when it isn't constantly switching between different concerns. Problems that seemed intractable during scattered work sessions often reveal obvious solutions when approached with full mental resources. Between each focus sprint, successful people build in recovery periods. These aren't times for checking social media or catching up on emails, activities that many people mistakenly consider restful. True mental recovery involves stepping away from information processing entirely. Some prefer short walks, especially outdoors where natural scenery can help restore attention. Others practice brief meditation or simply sit quietly with their thoughts. The key is allowing the brain to reset before the next period of intense effort. Physical movement during these breaks serves multiple purposes. It increases blood flow to the brain, helping clear metabolic waste that builds up during concentrated thinking. Movement also stimulates the production of brain-derived neurotrophic factor, a protein that supports the growth and maintenance of neurons. Even 5 minutes of light physical activity can significantly improve performance in the subsequent focus sprint. The number of focus sprints in a single day requires careful consideration. Most millionaires find that 3 to 4 high-quality sprints represent the practical limit for truly intensive work. Attempting more often results in diminished quality and increased fatigue. This constraint forces prioritization in a powerful way. When you can only complete 3 or 4 significant tasks per day, you quickly learn to identify which activities truly matter and which are merely busy work masquerading as productivity. Timing these sprints around natural energy rhythms amplifies their effectiveness. Most people experience peak cognitive performance in the late morning hours, making this an ideal time for the most challenging focus sprint of the day. The post-lunch period often brings a natural energy dip, making it better suited for less demanding activities or recovery time. Understanding and working with these biological patterns rather than against them represents another way millionaires extract maximum value from their time. The cumulative effect of this approach creates a competitive advantage that compounds over time. While others struggle through long days of interrupted work and mounting frustration, the sprint-focused individual accomplishes more in less time with greater satisfaction. They finish their most important work while their minds are fresh and their energy is high, leaving them more capacity for strategic thinking, relationship building, and personal development. This methodology also creates space for the kind of deep thinking that generates breakthrough insights. When the mind isn't constantly juggling multiple concerns, it can explore ideas more thoroughly and make connections that might otherwise remain hidden. Many millionaires report that their best ideas come not during the focus sprints themselves, but during the recovery periods when the subconscious mind continues processing information in the background. The discipline required to work in sprints often feels counterintuitive at first. There's something appealing about the idea of grinding through long work sessions, as if effort alone determines results. However, millionaires have learned that effective execution trumps extended effort every time. They would rather work 4 focused hours and achieve significant progress than work 10 scattered hours and accomplish little of lasting value. Implementing this approach requires honest assessment of current work habits. Most people vastly overestimate their ability to maintain concentration and underestimate the number of interruptions they allow. Tracking actual focus time for a few days often provides surprising insights. Many discover they're getting only 2 or 3 hours of genuine focused work in an entire day, despite being busy for 8 or more hours. The sprint methodology transforms not just productivity but the entire relationship with work. Instead of viewing the workday as an endurance test to be survived, it becomes a series of engaging challenges to be conquered. Each completed sprint provides a sense of accomplishment and forward momentum. The clear boundaries between work and recovery create natural stopping points that prevent the mental fatigue and burnout that plagues so many professionals. Focus sprints, not marathons. This simple shift in approach represents one of the most powerful daily habits that separate millionaires from the masses. By respecting the natural rhythms of human performance and structuring their days accordingly, they accomplish more meaningful work in less time while maintaining the mental clarity and energy needed for long-term success. 6. Learn daily, earn daily. The most dangerous lie wealthy people tell themselves is that they've learned enough. The moment you stop growing your mind, your money stops growing too. Every millionaire who stays a millionaire treats learning like breathing, essential, constant, and never optional. But here's where most people get it wrong. They think learning means reading random books, watching videos about success, or collecting certificates that gather dust. Real wealth builders learn with laser focus. Every piece of knowledge they consume connects directly to their next dollar, their next opportunity, their next breakthrough. Sarah built a catering business from her kitchen table to 7 figures, but not because she was born knowing about food. Every single morning, she spent exactly 30 minutes learning something that would make her business better that very day. Monday might be studying food cost management. Tuesday could be watching videos about event planning. Wednesday might involve reading about customer retention strategies. The key was simple. Whatever she learned before breakfast, she tested before dinner. This isn't about becoming a scholar. This is about becoming more valuable every single day. When you increase your value, you increase your earning power. When you increase your earning power, you increase your wealth. The connection is direct and immediate. Most people consume information like entertainment. They read business books while commuting, listen to podcasts while doing dishes, and watch educational videos while scrolling their phones. Their minds are split, their attention scattered, and their retention near zero. Wealthy people treat learning like work because learning is work. It requires focus, intention, and immediate application. The 30-minute rule changes everything. 30 minutes of focused, targeted learning every single day compounds into expertise faster than you might imagine. In 1 year, that's over 180 hours of deliberate skill building. That's equivalent to more than 4 full work weeks dedicated to getting better at making money. Most people don't spend 4 hours a year learning how to earn more, let alone 4 weeks. But time alone isn't enough. The learning must be surgical. If you're trying to grow a consulting practice, you don't need to study cryptocurrency or real estate investing. You need to study sales conversations, pricing strategies, client retention, and referral systems. If you're building a product business, you focus on manufacturing, distribution, marketing, and customer feedback loops. Every minute spent learning something that won't directly impact your income is a minute wasted. Marcus turned his small accounting firm into a wealth management powerhouse by following one simple learning protocol. Each morning, he identified the biggest obstacle preventing his business from growing that week. Then he spent 30 minutes learning specifically about that obstacle. When client acquisition was the problem, he studied marketing. When retention became an issue, he learned about customer service. When scaling hit a wall, he focused on systems and delegation. His learning wasn't random. It was responsive to his immediate needs. The magic happens when you turn knowledge into action within hours, not months. Most people read about strategies and file them away for someday. Wealthy people read about strategies and implement them immediately, even in their small ways. They take one insight from their morning learning session and test it that afternoon. This creates a feedback loop that accelerates both learning and earning. Take notes, but make them useful. Don't just highlight interesting passages or jot down inspiring quotes. Write down specific actions you can take based on what you're learning. If you read about improving customer service, write down 3 questions you can ask your next customer. If you study pricing strategies, write down 1 price increase you can test this week. Your notes should be blueprints for action, not collections of wisdom. Teaching what you learn amplifies everything. When you share an insight, explain a concept, or publish an idea, you cement it in your own mind while building your reputation as someone who knows valuable things. This doesn't mean you need to become a teacher or start a blog. It means you should regularly share useful insights with colleagues, clients, friends, or anyone who might benefit. When people see you as a source of valuable knowledge, they bring you valuable opportunities. The compound effect of daily learning shows up in unexpected ways. You'll find yourself having better conversations because you have more to contribute. You'll spot opportunities others miss because you've trained your mind to recognize patterns. You'll solve problems faster because you've expanded your toolkit of solutions. You'll command higher prices because you deliver more value. All of this traces back to that daily 30-minute investment in your own growth. Beware of learning for learning's sake. Some people become information addicts, constantly consuming content but never applying insights. They feel productive because they're always studying, but their bank accounts don't grow because they never implement. Learning without application is just expensive entertainment. The most successful people are ruthlessly practical about their learning diet. They choose books, courses, mentors, and resources based on one question. Will this help me earn more money in the next 90 days? If the answer is no, they skip it. If the answer is yes, they consume it with full attention and immediate action. Your learning doesn't have to come from books or courses. Some of the most valuable education comes from studying successful people in your field, analyzing what your best customers really want, or understanding what your competitors are doing wrong. The source matters less than the relevance and application. Start tomorrow morning. Before you check messages, before you have breakfast, before you do anything else, spend 30 minutes learning something that will make you more valuable today. Take notes on what actions you can take based on what you learn. Then, before the day ends, take at least one of those actions. Do this every single day for a month, and watch what happens to both your knowledge and your income. The wealthy understand a truth that escapes most people. In a world where everything changes rapidly, the ability to learn quickly and apply immediately becomes the ultimate competitive advantage. Your diploma got you started, but your commitment to daily learning determines where you finish. Learning daily and earning daily aren't separate activities. They're the same activity viewed from different angles. Every piece of relevant knowledge is potential income waiting to be unlocked. Every new skill is a door to higher earnings. Every insight applied is money in motion. Make learning your daily habit, and earning becomes your natural result. 7. Talk to money every day. Money doesn't knock on your door. It doesn't send you letters or leave voicemails asking if you're interested in earning more. Money flows through conversations, handshakes, and the simple act of asking for what you want. Yet most people spend their days talking to everyone except the people who control their financial future. Millionaires understand a fundamental truth that escapes the masses. Every day, without meaningful money conversations, is a day of lost opportunity. While others wait for luck or perfect timing, the wealthy create their own luck through deliberate, daily contact with prospects, partners, and profit centers. This isn't about being pushy or manipulative. It's about recognizing that wealth creation is inherently social. Behind every dollar earned is a human being who said yes to your offer, agreed to your terms, or decided to trust you with their money. The more quality conversations you have with these decision makers, the more opportunities flow your way. The wealthy don't leave these conversations to chance. They systematize their outreach like everything else in their lives, creating predictable pipelines of prospects and partners who can transform their financial reality. They understand that talking to money every day isn't just about immediate sales. It's about planting seeds that bloom into referrals, partnerships, and unexpected windfalls months or years later. Consider the insurance agent who commits to calling 5 prospects every morning before checking his messages. While his competitors wait for leads to come to them, he creates his own momentum through consistent outreach. One conversation leads to a policy, another generates a referral. A third doesn't result in immediate business, but plants the seed for a future opportunity when the prospect's needs change. The real estate investor who sends personalized messages to 5 property owners daily builds a network of potential sellers who remember her when they're ready to move. She doesn't wait for properties to hit the market. She creates her own market through relationships built one conversation at a time. The consultant who reaches out to former clients every week with industry insights stays top of mind when new projects arise. Instead of competing with hundreds of other consultants when opportunities are posted publicly, she gets called directly because she maintained the relationship through regular, valuable contact. This daily practice requires overcoming the natural human tendency to avoid potential rejection. Most people postpone these conversations because they might hear no. They craft elaborate email sequences and marketing funnels to avoid the discomfort of direct human interaction. The wealthy flip this thinking entirely. They see rejection as information, not failure. Every no brings them closer to the yes that changes everything. The key is making these conversations valuable for both parties. Wealthy people don't just reach out when they need something. They lead with value, sharing insights, making introductions, and offering help before they ask for anything in return. This approach transforms cold outreach into warm relationship building. The successful business owner who calls 5 potential partners weekly doesn't pitch them immediately. She asks about their challenges, shares relevant market intelligence, and looks for ways to help. When partnership opportunities arise naturally from these conversations, they feel collaborative rather than transactional. The real power comes from the compound effect of consistent outreach. Each conversation creates ripple effects that extend far beyond the immediate interaction. The prospect who isn't ready today might refer someone who is ready now. The partner who can't collaborate on your current project might be perfect for your next venture. The client who can't afford your premium service might know someone who can. This daily habit also keeps you intimately connected to market dynamics. When you're talking to money every day, you hear about problems before they become widespread, spot trends before they hit the mainstream, and identify opportunities while your competitors are still studying last quarter's reports. The wealthy treat follow-up as an art form rather than an afterthought. They don't just follow up when they need something. They follow up with new insights, additional value, and fresh angles that reignite stalled conversations. The deal that seemed dead 6 months ago suddenly comes alive when market conditions shift or the prospect's situation changes. Smart follow-up means tracking not just what you discussed, but why it mattered to the other person. The wealthy keep detailed notes about prospects' goals, challenges, and timing. They use this intelligence to craft follow-up messages that feel personally relevant rather than generic. The entrepreneur who remembers that a prospect mentioned expanding to new markets follows up 6 months later with market research relevant to their expansion plans. This isn't pushy sales behavior. It's helpful relationship building that positions him as a valuable resource rather than just another vendor. Timing plays a crucial role in these daily conversations. The wealthy understand that different types of money conversations work better at different times. Morning calls often catch people before their energy gets drained by the day's demands. Afternoon messages might land when people are thinking about tomorrow's priorities. Evening outreach can work for busy executives who finally have time to think strategically. The most successful practitioners of this habit diversify their daily outreach across different categories of money conversations. They don't just talk to prospects. They nurture existing clients for upsells and referrals. They reach out to partners who might collaborate on new ventures. They connect with mentors and advisors who open doors to bigger opportunities. This diversification creates multiple streams of potential income flowing from daily relationship-building efforts. While competitors focus solely on new customer acquisition, the wealthy create comprehensive networks that generate opportunities from every direction. The wealthy also understand that talking to money every day means having systems in place to handle the responses. There's no point generating interest if you can't capitalize on it quickly. They prepare proposals in advance, clear their calendars for unexpected opportunities, and maintain the resources needed to say yes when the right partnership presents itself. This preparation distinguishes professional money conversations from amateur attempts. When opportunity knocks, the wealthy are ready with specific next steps, clear value propositions, and the confidence that comes from having these conversations daily. They don't stumble through improvised pitches or scramble to create materials after interest is expressed. The psychological benefits of talking to money every day extend beyond immediate financial results. This habit builds confidence, sharpens communication skills, and creates a sense of control over financial outcomes. Instead of feeling like passive victims of market conditions, daily practitioners feel empowered by their ability to create opportunities through intentional relationship building. The compound effect of this daily habit becomes most apparent during economic downturns or industry disruptions. While others panic about declining opportunities, those who have been talking to money every day have networks ready to support them through difficult periods. The relationships they build during good times become lifelines when external conditions deteriorate. This isn't about quantity over quality. 5 meaningful conversations beat 50 generic touches every time. The wealthy focus on having substantive discussions with people who can actually make decisions or open doors. They research before they reach out, personalize their messages, and come prepared with specific value propositions. The habit succeeds because it acknowledges a simple reality about how wealth actually gets created. Behind every successful business, every profitable investment, and every life-changing opportunity is a conversation between people who found ways to help each other. By talking to money every day, the wealthy ensure they're part of these conversations rather than hearing about them secondhand. Your financial future depends more on the quality of your daily conversations than the brilliance of your strategies. The wealthy understand this truth and act on it consistently. They talk to money every day because they know money talks back to those who start the conversation. 8. Build leverage before lunch. The difference between the wealthy and everyone else comes down to one fundamental principle. Millionaires understand that their time has a ceiling, but their systems do not. While most people trade hours for dollars in an endless hamster wheel, the wealthy spend their mornings building machines that work without them. They create leverage before lunch because they know that every hour invested in systems pays dividends for years to come. Think of leverage as your personal army of invisible workers. Each template you create, every process you document, and every task you delegate multiplies your capacity without multiplying your effort. The morning hours, when your mind is sharp and distractions are minimal, become your laboratory for building these force multipliers. This is not about working harder or longer. This is about architecting your business and life so that your income grows while your effort remains constant or even decreases. The wealthy wake up each day with a simple question: what can I build today that will work for me tomorrow? They understand that every repetitive task they perform manually is a leak in their wealth-building pipeline. Every email they write from scratch, every process they execute without documentation, every decision they make without creating a framework for future decisions represents missed opportunity. The morning becomes their construction zone for plugging these leaks and building wealth-generating systems. Consider the power of documentation. When you document a process you repeat, you transform tribal knowledge into transferable assets. That sales conversation you have with prospects becomes a script others can follow. The way you handle customer complaints becomes a playbook that maintains quality without your direct involvement. The method you use to evaluate opportunities becomes a framework that speeds decision-making across your entire organization. Each documented process is like creating a copy of yourself that can work independently. Automation represents the next level of leverage. Every software tool that handles routine tasks, every system that processes information without human intervention, every automated sequence that nurtures relationships while you sleep adds hours back to your day. The wealthy understand that technology is not just a convenience, but a wealth-building tool. They invest their mornings in setting up systems that handle the predictable so they can focus their human energy on the profitable. The delegation mindset separates millionaires from those who remain trapped in their own businesses. While others hold on to tasks because they believe they can do them better or faster, the wealthy see delegation as an investment in scalability. They spend morning time creating clear instructions, setting up accountability systems, and training others to handle responsibilities. They understand that short-term inefficiency from training others creates long-term freedom and growth capacity. Templates become another form of leverage that compounds over time. The proposal template that wins clients, the email sequence that converts prospects, the presentation that closes deals, the contract that protects interests. Each template turns expertise into repeatable assets. Instead of recreating the wheel with every interaction, templates allow you to deploy proven approaches instantly. The wealthy spend mornings creating and refining these templates because they know that 1 hour of template creation saves dozens of hours in future execution. Building leverage requires a shift from tactical thinking to strategic thinking. Instead of asking, "What do I need to do today?" the wealthy ask, "What can I create today that makes tomorrow easier?" This mindset transforms daily work from mere task completion to asset creation. Every activity becomes an opportunity to build something lasting rather than just checking items off a list. The morning hours offer the perfect environment for leverage building because your mental resources are at their peak. The complex thinking required to design systems, create documentation, and build templates demands focused attention. By tackling this work before the day's interruptions begin, you ensure that your most valuable cognitive resources go toward activities that multiply your future capacity. Communication systems represent a massive opportunity for leverage that most people overlook. The wealthy create templates for common communications, develop standard operating procedures for handling inquiries, and build systems that qualify prospects before they consume time. They understand that every minute spent on routine communication is a minute not available for high-value activities. Morning time invested in building communication leverage pays dividends throughout every subsequent day. The compound effect of daily leverage building cannot be overstated. One documented process might save 30 minutes per week. One automated system might handle tasks that previously consumed hours. One trained team member might eliminate entire categories of work from your plate. When you build leverage consistently over months and years, these small improvements multiply into dramatic increases in capacity and income potential. Resistance to building leverage often comes from the illusion of immediate productivity. It feels more productive to jump straight into daily tasks than to spend time documenting, automating, or delegating. However, this thinking keeps people trapped in cycles of constant work without proportional growth. The wealthy sacrifice the illusion of immediate productivity for the reality of long-term leverage. The key to successful leverage building lies in starting small and building consistently. You do not need to automate your entire business in one morning. Document one process. Create one template. Delegate one task. The cumulative effect of these small daily investments in leverage creates exponential returns over time. Each morning becomes an opportunity to add another building block to your wealth-generating machine. Quality control becomes essential as you build leverage through systems and delegation. The wealthy understand that leverage without standards leads to chaos. They invest morning time not just in creating systems but in building quality controls that ensure consistency. They create checklists, establish review processes, and build feedback loops that maintain standards as work moves away from their direct oversight. Building leverage also requires the discipline to use the systems you create. Many people build excellent processes and then abandon them when pressure mounts or habits pull them back toward old patterns. The wealthy understand that systems only create leverage when they are consistently applied. They use morning time to review and refine their systems, ensuring that leverage-building efforts translate into practical benefits. The ultimate goal of building leverage is not just efficiency, but freedom. Freedom to focus on high-value activities that only you can perform. Freedom to pursue opportunities that require your unique skills and perspective. Freedom to scale your impact without scaling your effort proportionally. Every morning spent building leverage is an investment in this freedom, creating the capacity to think bigger and act more strategically. Start tomorrow morning with the leverage-building question. What can I create today that will work for me forever? Let this question guide your most productive hours toward activities that multiply your capacity rather than just consuming your time. The wealthy understand that morning leverage building is not just a productivity strategy but a wealth-building system that compounds over years into extraordinary results. 9. Default to action. The 24-hour rule. The difference between millionaires and everyone else isn't intelligence, connections, or luck. It's speed. While others deliberate, analyze, and perfect their plans into oblivion, wealthy people move fast and course-correct later. They understand a fundamental truth that paralyzed minds miss. Imperfect action beats perfect inaction every single time. Most people treat decisions like marriage proposals. They agonize over every detail, seek endless opinions, and wait for the stars to align before making a move. Meanwhile, opportunities expire, competitors advance, and momentum dies. The wealthy operate differently. They've trained themselves to make quality decisions quickly, execute immediately, and refine through experience rather than theory. This isn't recklessness disguised as wisdom. It's strategic speed based on a simple recognition. You'll never have perfect information, and waiting for it costs more than moving with good enough data. The successful have learned to be comfortable with uncertainty because they know their ability to adapt and pivot is more valuable than their ability to predict and plan perfectly. The 24-hour rule works like this. When faced with any decision that isn't life-threatening or legally binding, you give yourself exactly 1 day to gather information, weigh options, and choose a direction. No extensions, no committee meetings, no endless research spirals. 24 hours to decide, then immediate action on whatever you choose. This forces a crucial shift in how you approach problems. Instead of asking, "What's the perfect solution?" you start asking, "What's the best available option?" Instead of seeking guarantees, you seek reasonable confidence. Instead of trying to eliminate all risk, you focus on managing acceptable risk while moving forward. The magic happens in the execution phase. When you commit to acting within 24 hours, you naturally become better at identifying what information actually matters versus what feels important but changes nothing. You stop researching for the illusion of control and start gathering only the data that influences your decision. Consider how this plays out in real situations. Someone presents you with a business opportunity. The perfectionist spends weeks analyzing market conditions, competitor strategies, and financial projections, often talking themselves out of good opportunities or missing them entirely. The action-oriented person spends 1 day understanding the core proposition, assessing their risk tolerance, and making a move. They know they can learn more about the opportunity by engaging with it than by studying it from the sidelines. The same principle applies to hiring decisions, investment choices, marketing campaigns, and product launches. Speed becomes a competitive advantage because while others are still planning, you're already testing, learning, and improving your position. This approach requires a fundamental rewiring of how you think about mistakes. Most people fear making the wrong choice so much that they avoid making choices at all. The wealthy understand that the biggest mistake is usually not the wrong decision, but the failure to decide at all. They'd rather make a questionable choice quickly and correct course than make a perfect choice slowly and miss the window entirely. The 24-hour rule also solves the problem of decision fatigue. When you know you have a fixed deadline for choosing, your mind stops spinning in endless loops and focuses on resolution. You conserve mental energy for execution rather than exhausting it on analysis. Start applying this today with smaller decisions to build your speed muscles. That marketing idea you've been considering? Give yourself 24 hours to decide whether to test it or drop it. The potential partnership that's been in discussion limbo? Set tomorrow as the deadline to either move forward or move on. The system improvement you've been debating? 1 day to commit to trying it or removing it from your mental space. As you practice quick decision-making, you'll discover something remarkable. Most decisions matter less than you think, and your ability to execute well matters more than the theoretical perfection of your choice. A decent plan executed immediately almost always outperforms a brilliant plan executed late or not at all. The wealthy also understand the power of version thinking. Instead of trying to create the perfect final product, they focus on shipping version 1 quickly, then immediately planning version 2 based on real feedback rather than imagined scenarios. This creates a cycle of rapid improvement that leaves perfectionist competitors in the dust. This mindset shift extends to how you handle mistakes. When you're moving quickly, you'll occasionally make choices that don't work out. The key is treating these as data points rather than failures. Each imperfect decision teaches you something valuable that no amount of theoretical planning could have revealed. You become smarter through action, not through endless contemplation. The daily practice becomes simple but powerful. Each morning, identify any decisions you've been avoiding or overanalyzing. Apply the 24-hour rule to at least one of them. Gather the essential information, make the call, and take the first step toward execution before the day ends. This doesn't mean being impulsive or ignoring important factors. It means recognizing that most decisions are reversible or adjustable, and that the cost of delay usually exceeds the risk of imperfection. It means trusting your ability to handle problems as they arise, rather than trying to prevent every possible problem before you start. The compound effect of daily, quick decision-making is extraordinary. While others are stuck in analysis paralysis, you're building experience, relationships, and momentum. You're testing ideas, eliminating bad options, and discovering opportunities that only reveal themselves through action. You're developing the reflexes and confidence that come from repeatedly moving from thought to execution without unnecessary delays. Your daily practice becomes a simple commitment. When faced with decisions, gather sufficient information quickly, choose the best available option, and act immediately. Set artificial deadlines for choices that could otherwise drag on indefinitely. Embrace the fact that you'll sometimes be wrong, but trust that your ability to course correct quickly is more valuable than your ability to avoid all mistakes. The millionaire's advantage isn't perfect judgment. It's the willingness to make good judgments quickly and adjust them rapidly based on real-world feedback. While others perfect their plans, wealthy people perfect their execution. They understand that the market rewards speed and adaptability more than it rewards perfection and prediction. Today, commit to becoming someone who moves fast and adjusts course rather than someone who plans perfectly and moves slowly. Your bank account will thank you for the shift. 10. Master boredom. The most dangerous moment in any millionaire's journey isn't failure, it's success. More specifically, it's the moment when what works becomes boring, when the magic fades into routine, when the thrill of discovery transforms into the mundane repetition of proven methods. This is where most people stumble. They abandon what brought them wealth in search of something more exciting, more novel, more stimulating. Millionaires understand a fundamental truth that escapes the masses. Boredom is not planned. The enemy of success, it's the guardian of it. Consider the baker who discovers that a particular recipe draws lines around the block every morning. The amateur baker grows tired of making the same bread day after day. The millionaire baker recognizes that this boredom signals something profound. They have found their golden formula. While others chase the excitement of new recipes, the millionaire doubles down on what works, perfecting every detail, refining every step, and scaling every element until that simple bread recipe becomes an empire. The millionaire mindset treats boredom as valuable feedback. When something becomes boring, it means you've moved past the learning curve. You've transcended the need for constant novelty and stimulus. You've reached the plateau where true wealth accumulates not through constant change, but through relentless consistency applied to proven methods. The amateur craves variety, the professional craves results. This principle reveals itself daily in how millionaires approach their most successful activities. They don't abandon their morning routine because it feels repetitive. They don't stop making the calls that generate revenue because the conversations feel predictable. They don't change their investment strategy because the returns seem automatic. Instead, they recognize that when something becomes boring, it's often because it has become effortlessly productive. The psychology behind this runs deeper than most realize. Humans are wired to seek novelty. Our brains reward us with chemical bursts when we experience something new. This served our ancestors well when survival meant adapting to constantly changing threats and opportunities. But in the modern world of wealth creation, this novelty bias becomes a liability. The very neural wiring that helped humans survive now sabotages their ability to thrive. Millionaires have learned to override this programming. They understand that the brain's craving for novelty often conflicts with the wallet's need for consistency. They've discovered that the activities which generate the most wealth are rarely the most stimulating. The phone calls that close deals become routine. The systems that generate passive income operate in the background. The investments that compound wealth do so quietly, without fanfare or excitement. This creates what might be called the boredom paradox. The more boring your wealth-building activities become, the more effective they often are. The client who once excited you with their potential becomes a steady source of recurring revenue. The marketing message that once felt creative and fresh becomes a predictable conversion machine. The daily habits that once required motivation and willpower become automatic behaviors that compound wealth without conscious effort. Mastering boredom requires a fundamental shift in how you measure success. Instead of measuring excitement, you measure results. Instead of seeking stimulation, you seek sustainability. Instead of chasing the new, you optimize the proven. This shift separates those who build temporary wealth from those who build lasting fortunes. The daily practice begins with recognition. Each morning, successful people review not just what needs to be done, but what's currently working. They ask themselves a crucial question. What activities in my life have become boring because they've become effective? Then, rather than seeking to replace these activities, they seek to enhance them. They look for ways to do more of what works, to refine what's proven, to scale what succeeds. This doesn't mean stagnation. Millionaires still innovate, still experiment, still pursue new opportunities. But they do so strategically, not reactively. They innovate from a position of strength, with proven revenue streams supporting their experiments. They don't abandon what works in pursuit of what might work. They protect their boring, profitable core while carefully testing new possibilities at the margins. The discipline shows up in daily decisions. When faced with a choice between an exciting new project and optimizing an existing profitable system, they choose optimization. When tempted by a novel business opportunity, they first ask whether their current boring activities are fully maximized. When feeling the urge to completely overhaul their approach, they instead focus on making small improvements to what already succeeds. Streaks become powerful tools in this process. Millionaires track consecutive days of performing their most effective boring activities. The sales calls that generate revenue, the investment contributions that build wealth, the relationship maintenance that creates opportunities, the skill development that compounds capability. They gamify consistency, finding excitement not in the activity itself, but in the streak of performing it. This streak mentality transforms the relationship with repetition. Instead of seeing routine as the enemy of growth, they see it as the engine of growth. Each day they perform their proven activities, extends their streak, and compounds their results. The boredom becomes a badge of honor, evidence that they've moved beyond the amateur's need for constant stimulation into the professional's embrace of profitable routine. The approach extends to how they evaluate new opportunities. When something promises to be more exciting than their current activities, they become skeptical. They understand that excitement often correlates with uncertainty, while boredom often correlates with predictability. Predictable, though boring, activities form the foundation of wealth. Exciting but unpredictable activities might supplement that foundation, but they should never replace it. Perhaps most importantly, millionaires learn to find satisfaction in results rather than stimulation. They derive pleasure from seeing their boring activities compound into significant outcomes. The daily investment. Contribution that seems insignificant becomes meaningful when viewed as part of a year's wealth accumulation. The routine client check-in that feels repetitive becomes valuable when it prevents problems and generates referrals. The predictable morning routine that lacks novelty becomes precious when its impact on daily productivity becomes clear. This satisfaction in results creates a different kind of excitement, the excitement of watching boring activities produce extraordinary outcomes. It's the excitement of compound growth, of systems working without intervention, of profits flowing from activities that require no motivation because they've become habitual. This excitement sustains itself because it's based on results rather than novelty, on outcomes rather than inputs. Mastering boredom ultimately means mastering yourself. It means overriding your brain's desire for constant stimulation in service of your wealth's need for constant consistency. It means finding excitement in effectiveness rather than novelty. It means measuring success by results rather than feelings. Most importantly, it means recognizing that when wealth building becomes boring, you're not doing something wrong, you're doing something right. Tomorrow morning, when you review your activities, pay special attention to what feels boring. Those boring activities might just be your most valuable assets. Instead of seeking to replace them, seek to perfect them. Instead of abandoning them for something more exciting, double down on their proven effectiveness. The path to wealth isn't always exciting, but for those who can master boredom, it's always profitable. 11. Cash flow. First, money in motion stays in motion. Money at rest gets eaten by expenses, inflation, and missed opportunities. The difference between someone who builds lasting wealth and someone who perpetually struggles isn't how much they make in a year. It's how they manage the flow of money every single day. Most people treat cash flow like weather. They hope it rains revenue and pray the storms of unexpected expenses pass quickly. They check their bank balance when forced to, usually when something bounces or when panic sets in. They live in a reactive state, always surprised by bills that come every month at the same time. Millionaires treat cash flow like breathing. They monitor it constantly, improve it systematically, and never take it for granted. They know that liquidity is oxygen for opportunity. When cash is tight, you can't invest in growth. When cash is abundant, you can move fast on deals, weather setbacks, and sleep soundly at night. The daily practice of cash flow management isn't about obsessing over every penny. It's about creating a rhythm of awareness, action, and allocation that compounds over time. It's about building systems that turn money into more money, automatically and consistently. Every morning, before the day pulls you into its chaos, you need to know where you stand. Financially. Not approximately, not hopefully, precisely. You need to know how much cash you have access to, how much is coming in today and this week, and how much is going out. You need to know this the same way you know whether you're hungry or tired. This daily financial pulse check takes less time than brewing coffee, but it shapes every decision you make afterward. When you know your cash position, you make different choices about how to spend your time. You prioritize differently. You negotiate differently. You move with the confidence that comes from having your financial house in order. But knowing your numbers is just the beginning. The real power comes from actively improving them every single day. While others wait for payday or pray for windfalls, you're systematically increasing the speed at which money flows to you and decreasing the speed at which it flows away. This means turning invoicing from a monthly chore into a daily discipline. Every day, money is owed to you that hasn't been collected yet. Every day that money sits uncollected is a day you're essentially giving free loans to people who may not deserve them. Millionaires understand that sending invoices quickly and following up consistently isn't being pushy, it's being professional. It's respecting the value they've created and ensuring they get paid for it promptly. The same urgency applies to collecting receivables. That client who owes you money from 2 months ago isn't going to suddenly remember and send a check. They're busy managing their own priorities, and paying old bills rarely makes the top of anyone's list unless someone makes it a priority. A simple phone call, a friendly email, or a brief conversation can often unlock money that's rightfully yours but stuck in someone else's account. Payment terms become a strategic tool rather than an afterthought. Instead of accepting whatever terms clients propose, you negotiate terms that work in your favor. You offer discounts for early payment. You require deposits up front. You shorten payment windows for new clients until they prove reliable. You make it easier and more attractive for money to flow to you quickly. But managing cash flow isn't just about accelerating income. It's also about controlling outflow. This doesn't mean becoming cheap or cutting corners on important investments. It means becoming intentional about where money goes and when it goes there. It means questioning recurring subscriptions and memberships that once provided value but no longer do. It means negotiating better terms with vendors and service providers who've grown comfortable charging you without delivering proportional value. The most powerful part of daily cash flow management happens after you've optimized the incoming and outgoing streams. It's the automatic allocation of surplus into vehicles that generate more cash flow. This isn't about complex investment strategies or getting rich quick schemes. It's about the simple discipline of paying yourself first and putting that money to work immediately. When money sits in checking accounts, it earns nothing and tempts spending. When money moves automatically into investments, savings vehicles, or business growth opportunities, it starts earning returns immediately. The key is making this movement automatic so that it happens without requiring willpower or perfect timing. This automatic allocation creates what millionaires call forced prosperity. Instead of hoping to have money left over at the end of the month to save or invest, you remove that money from your available spending pool immediately. You learn to live and operate on what remains, which almost always proves to be sufficient. Your lifestyle adjusts to your net income after savings and investment, not your gross income before them. The compound effect of this daily discipline becomes visible surprisingly quickly. When you manage cash flow actively instead of passively, you start to see patterns. You notice which activities generate the fastest returns. You identify which expenses provide real value versus which ones drain resources without meaningful benefit. You begin to make decisions based on cash flow impact rather than just immediate convenience or comfort. Your relationship with money changes from reactive to proactive. Instead of money controlling your schedule and stress levels, you begin controlling money's flow and timing. You start to see opportunities that others miss because you have the liquidity to act when favorable situations arise. You sleep better because you know exactly where you stand and have systems in place to improve that position daily. This isn't about becoming obsessed with money or turning every decision into a purely financial calculation. It's about creating the financial foundation that allows you to focus on higher-level thinking and bigger opportunities. When cash flow is handled systematically, you free up mental energy for creativity, relationship building, and strategic planning. The daily habit of checking, improving, and allocating cash flow takes less than 15 minutes, but influences every other area of your business and life. It's the difference between hoping money will show up and knowing it will. It's the difference between reacting to financial surprises and creating financial momentum. Cash flow is the circulatory system of wealth building. When it flows freely and consistently, everything else becomes easier. When it's restricted or unpredictable, even the most brilliant ideas struggle to become reality. Millionaires protect their cash flow like they protect their health, with daily attention and proactive care. The compound returns on this daily discipline extend far beyond the obvious financial benefits. You develop a reputation for reliability and professionalism that attracts better clients and opportunities. You gain the confidence that comes from financial clarity and control. You create the flexibility to take advantage of unexpected opportunities because you have the liquidity to move quickly. Most importantly, you build the foundation for all other wealth-building activities. Every other strategy in this book becomes more effective when you have strong, consistent cash flow supporting it. Learning compounds faster when you can invest in better resources. Networking becomes more powerful when you can afford to be generous. Risk-taking becomes more strategic when you have reserves to weather temporary setbacks. Cash flow first isn't just a financial strategy. It's a mindset that prioritizes liquidity and flow over static accumulation. It's the recognition that money in motion creates more opportunities than money at rest. It's the daily discipline that turns financial chaos into financial momentum, one day at a time. 12. The no list. Most people collect opportunities like souvenirs. Millionaires collect them like weapons, keeping only what kills their competition and discarding everything else without sentiment. The difference between the wealthy and everyone else often comes down to a single word: no. While others say yes to everything and accomplish nothing meaningful, millionaires maintain what I call a no list, a written inventory of activities, requests, and commitments they will never again allow into their lives. The no list operates on a simple principle. Every yes to something unimportant is a no to something that could make you wealthy. Your attention is finite, your energy has limits, your time cannot be manufactured or borrowed. When you scatter these precious resources across dozens of low-value activities, you guarantee mediocrity. When you concentrate them on the few things that multiply your income, you guarantee results. Think of your typical day as a pie with only so many slices. Most people give away their biggest, freshest pieces to whoever asks first. The urgent phone call from a colleague who could solve their own problem. The favor for a friend that takes 3 hours and benefits no one's future. The meeting that could have been a 2-sentence message. The project that sounds interesting but pays nothing and leads nowhere. By the time they sit down to work on what actually matters, they're operating on crumbs and wondering why success feels impossible. Millionaires flip this equation. They guard their prime slices like treasure and offer only the scraps to activities that don't feed their wealth. They understand that saying no to good opportunities creates space for great ones. They know that disappointing some people today prevents disappointing everyone, including themselves, tomorrow. Building your no list starts with honest accounting. For 1 week, track every commitment you make and every request you fulfill. Write down how long each takes and what value it creates for your income, skills, or relationships that matter. Most people discover they're spending 40 to 60% of their waking hours on activities that contribute nothing to their financial future. They're volunteering for other people's priorities while their own dreams collect dust. The revelation becomes your liberation. Once you see how much time you're hemorrhaging on low-value activities, saying no stops feeling selfish and starts feeling essential. You begin to understand that every minute spent on someone else's non-urgent problem is a minute stolen from your urgent goals. Every favor that doesn't compound into future opportunities is a gift to mediocrity at the expense of excellence. Your no list should include categories, not just individual items. Meetings without agendas or decision-making power go on the list. Projects that sound educational but create no measurable value earn a permanent spot. Social gatherings that drain your energy rather than multiplying your network get banned. Requests for your time from people who wouldn't invest their time in your success become automatic declines. The most powerful entries on your no list are the activities you once enjoyed but have outgrown. The hobby that used to relax you but now feels like an obligation. The side project that was supposed to generate income but only generates busy work. The friendship that once energized you but now consists mainly of complaints and drama. Millionaires shed these activities like snakes shed skin, understanding that what served them at one level may sabotage them at the next. Declining requests requires scripts, not inspiration. When someone asks for your time, you need predetermined responses that feel natural and final. Practice saying, "I'm not available for that," without offering explanations that invite negotiation. Learn to respond with, "That doesn't align with my current priorities," instead of apologizing for having priorities. Master the phrase, "I can't commit the time that would do justice to what you're asking," which honors both their request and your boundaries. The guilt will come. Friends may call you selfish. Colleagues might label you difficult. Family members could question your new boundaries. This resistance is proof that your no list is working. People who benefited from your scattered attention will naturally resist your concentrated focus. They preferred you available and struggling to you, unavailable and succeeding. Your job is to disappoint them temporarily so you can serve them from a position of strength later. Some no's require preparation because they involve recurring situations. If you always get pulled into gossip sessions that waste your mental energy, prepare a response that redirects the conversation or removes you from it. If certain people always ask for help with problems they should solve themselves, develop a standard reply that offers resources instead of your time. If meetings consistently run long because no one respects the schedule, prepare an exit strategy that you execute without apology. Your no list also applies to opportunities that look attractive but don't fit your strategy. The business partnership that would be profitable but would distract you from more profitable work. The speaking engagement that would boost your ego but wouldn't boost your income. The investment opportunity that your friend swears will double your money but doesn't match your risk tolerance or expertise. Saying no to good opportunities because they're not great opportunities separates millionaires from everyone else. The daily implementation of your no list requires vigilance because the world conspires against your boundaries. Every day brings new requests designed to sound urgent, important, or beneficial to your future. Most are none of these things. They're simply other people's priorities dressed up as emergencies. Your no list serves as a filter that catches these requests before they can infiltrate your schedule and sabotage your focus. Review your no list weekly and add new items as you discover activities that waste your resources. Include the meeting formats that never produce decisions. Add the types of people who always take more than they give. List the commitments that sound meaningful but create no momentum toward your financial goals. Your no list should grow longer and more specific as you become more successful, because higher levels of achievement require higher levels of protection. The compound effect of consistent no's creates exponential results. Each declined distraction preserves energy for important work. Every refused low-value commitment opens time for high-value opportunities. All those saved hours accumulate into the focused effort that separates millionaires from people who wonder where their time went. Your no list doesn't just protect your schedule, it protects your potential. Saying no is not about becoming antisocial or unhelpful, it's about becoming selectively social and strategically helpful. Millionaires don't help fewer people, they help the right people, in ways that create lasting impact rather than temporary relief. They don't avoid all meetings. They attend meetings that advance their objectives and decline meetings that advance everyone else's objectives at their expense. Your no list becomes your liberation from the tyranny of other people's urgencies. It transforms you from someone who reacts to whatever seems important in the moment to someone who responds only to what aligns with their vision for the future. Every item on that list represents a boundary that protects your path to wealth. Respect those boundaries like they're worth millions, because they are. 13. Network and public millionaires understand a fundamental truth about wealth creation. Luck is not random. It flows to those who position themselves in its path daily. While most people network in conference rooms and coffee shops, the wealthy have discovered something far more powerful. They network in public, creating a constant signal that attracts opportunities, partnerships, and income streams they never could have imagined. The difference between private and public networking is the difference between fishing with a single line versus casting a net across the entire ocean. When you network in private, you reach one person at a time. When you network in public, you reach hundreds or thousands simultaneously. And more importantly, you reach people you don't even know exist yet. Sarah built a consulting practice that generated 7 figures annually, not through cold calls or expensive advertisements, but by sharing one insight every single day about supply chain optimization. She posted her observations about inefficiencies she spotted, solutions she discovered, and results her clients achieved. Within 18 months, executives from companies she had never heard of were reaching out, asking her to solve problems worth millions of dollars. Her daily habit of public networking transformed her from an unknown consultant into the go-to expert in her field. The magic happens because public networking creates what wealthy people call compound visibility. Each piece of value you share in public lives forever, working for you while you sleep. Unlike a private conversation that ends when the meeting finishes, public content continues attracting the right people months or even years later. The case study you share today might be discovered by your ideal client 6 months from now, leading to a partnership that changes everything. Most people resist networking in public because they believe they need permission to share their insights, or they worry they don't have anything valuable to contribute. This thinking keeps them invisible and struggling. Millionaires recognize that every person has unique experiences, perspectives, and knowledge that others need. The key is not having perfect insights, but sharing useful ones consistently. The daily practice starts with documenting your work as you do it. Throughout your day, you encounter challenges, discover solutions, notice patterns, and achieve results. Most people let these moments pass without recognition. Wealthy people capture them and transform them into public value. They ask themselves simple questions. What did I learn today that someone else might find useful? What mistake did I avoid that others might be making? What result did I achieve that others want to replicate? The format matters less than the consistency. Some wealthy people prefer writing short observations about their industry. Others share behind-the-scenes looks at their projects. Many document their learning process, showing how they approach new challenges or develop new skills. The common thread is that they provide genuine value while revealing their thinking process and capabilities. Marcus built a real estate empire by sharing one insight daily about property investment. He never revealed specific deals or confidential information, but he shared principles, patterns he noticed in different markets, and lessons from both successful and failed investments. Real estate investors, property managers, and eventually high net worth people seeking investment opportunities began following his content. Several partnerships worth millions emerged from people who discovered him through his daily insights. The second component of public networking involves engaging meaningfully with others who are sharing value. Millionaires don't just broadcast their own insights, they amplify others and add their perspective to ongoing conversations. They identify 5 key people each day whose content aligns with their goals and add thoughtful comments that demonstrate their expertise. This engagement is strategic, not social. Rather than posting generic praise or simple agreement, they share relevant experiences, ask insightful questions, or offer additional resources. Their comments become mini demonstrations of their knowledge and thinking, attracting attention from both the original poster and others who read the exchange. The compounding effect accelerates when you begin connecting the dots between different people and opportunities. Wealthy people use their public presence to facilitate introductions, share resources, and create value for their network. They become known not just for their expertise, but for their generosity and their ability to spot connections others miss. Jennifer transformed her marketing consulting business by sharing daily observations about consumer behavior and campaign performance. She never revealed client confidential information, but she shared patterns, trends, and strategic insights. Her public networking led to speaking opportunities, joint ventures, and eventually, an acquisition offer for her agency worth 8 figures. The buyers had been following her insights for 2 years before they reached out. The key to sustainable public networking lies in creating systems that make the daily practice effortless, successful. People develop content capture habits throughout their day. They keep running notes of interesting observations, client results, learning moments, and industry insights. At the end of each day, they review their notes and select one item to develop into a public piece of value. Many wealthy people batch their engagement activities, setting aside specific time to review and comment on content from their target connections. This focused approach ensures they maintain consistency while managing their time effectively. They often use the same time block to respond to messages and comments generated by their own content. The most successful public networkers understand that consistency trumps perfection. They would rather share a useful but imperfect insight daily than wait for the perfect post that never comes. Their audience values the regularity and reliability of their contributions more than the polish of any individual piece. The financial impact of public networking often surprises even those who practice it consistently. Opportunities emerge from unexpected directions and in forms that traditional networking rarely produces. Joint ventures materialize when someone discovers complementary expertise through public content. Speaking engagements and consulting opportunities arise when event organizers find relevant experts through their shared insights. Public networking also creates multiple income streams simultaneously. The same content that attracts clients can lead to speaking fees, partnership opportunities, and product sales. It builds personal brand equity that increases the value of everything else you do. Clients pay premium prices to work with recognized experts, and partners prefer to align with people who have established credibility and reach. The daily practice requires discipline, but not perfection. Start by committing to share one valuable insight every day for 30 days. Focus on helping others solve problems or achieve results rather than promoting yourself. Engage authentically with others who are creating value in your space. Document your process and results as you go. Your daily blueprint begins with capturing insights throughout your day and selecting one to share publicly. Identify 5 valuable contributors in your field and add meaningful comments to their content. Look for opportunities to make introductions or share resources that benefit others. Track the conversations and connections that emerge from your public networking efforts. The wealthy understand that in a connected world, visibility is the ultimate competitive advantage. Those who consistently signal their value in public create luck that compounds daily. Your expertise, experiences, and insights have value that others need. The question is not whether you have something worth sharing, but whether you will develop the habit of sharing it consistently. Your future opportunities are waiting for you to make yourself visible enough to be found. 14. Track everything. Dashboards, not dreams. The difference between a dreamer and a millionaire is measurement. While most people chase feelings and fantasies, wealth builders chase numbers. They understand a fundamental truth that separates the successful from the struggling. What gets measured gets multiplied. Every morning, Sarah opens a simple spreadsheet before she opens her email. 5 columns, 4 numbers that matter more than any news headline or social media notification. New leads generated yesterday, conversations that turned into sales meetings, revenue collected, money spent. These 4 metrics tell her everything she needs to know about whether she's moving toward wealth or away from it. This daily ritual takes her 3 minutes. Those 3 minutes have made her more money than most people earn in a year because they force her to confront reality instead of living in hope. The numbers don't lie, don't make excuses, and don't let her pretend that being busy is the same as being profitable. Most people avoid tracking their key metrics because they're afraid of what they'll discover. They prefer the comfort of ignorance to the power of truth. They'll spend hours researching the perfect business strategy but won't spend 3 minutes figuring out if their current strategy is actually working. This is exactly why they stay stuck while others surge ahead. Millionaires think differently about measurement. They don't track everything that's easy to track. They track everything that matters to their bank account. They understand that a simple dashboard beats a complex dream every single time. The magic happens in the morning review, not a lengthy analysis session or a perfectionist's paradise of color-coded charts. Just a quick look at the numbers that drive everything else. Did more money come in than went out? Are more people saying yes to our offers than yesterday? Are we talking to enough new prospects to keep the pipeline full? Are we moving closer to our targets or further away? This isn't about becoming a data-obsessed perfectionist. It's about creating a feedback loop that keeps you honest and keeps you focused. When you measure what matters daily, you spot problems while they're still small. You catch opportunities while they're still available. You make corrections while there's still time to course correct. The biggest mistake most people make with tracking is trying to measure too much. They create elaborate systems that require an hour to update and an advanced degree to understand. Then they abandon the whole thing after 2 weeks because it became a burden instead of a tool. Smart wealth builders keep it ruthlessly simple. 3 to 5 numbers maximum. Numbers they can update in under 5 minutes. Numbers that directly connect to money coming in and money going out. Numbers that help them make better decisions today, not numbers that look impressive in a presentation. The second biggest mistake is tracking lagging indicators instead of leading indicators. Revenue is a lagging indicator. It tells you what happened, not what's about to happen. The number of new prospects you talk to this week is a leading indicator. It predicts what your revenue will look like next month. Millionaires track both, but they pay more attention to leading indicators because those are the numbers they can actually control today. You can't control whether someone buys from you today, but you can control whether you reach out to 5 new prospects today. Focus on the activities that create the outcomes, not just the outcomes themselves. The daily review is where the real power lives. Every morning, those 3 minutes with your dashboard create a moment of truth that most people never experience. You see exactly where you stand, exactly what's working, and exactly what needs to change. No wishful thinking allowed, no excuses accepted. Just clear feedback about whether your actions are creating the results you want. When the numbers are good, you get to celebrate and figure out how to do more of what's working. When the numbers are disappointing, you get to adjust quickly, instead of wondering 6 months from now why your business isn't growing. This daily practice also creates something even more valuable than better decisions. It creates confidence. When you know your numbers cold, when you can see the direct connection between your daily actions and your monthly results, you develop an unshakable confidence in your ability to create wealth. You stop hoping things will work out and start knowing they will, because you have proof that your system produces results. The tracking habit also reveals patterns that change everything. You discover that customers who come from referrals spend 3 times more than customers who come from advertising. You realize that deals closed on Tuesday have a higher profit margin than deals closed on Friday. You notice that your best months always follow weeks where you had more conversations with prospects, not weeks where you worked more hours on projects. These insights only emerge when you consistently track the right metrics over time. They're invisible to people who rely on memory and gut feeling. They're obvious to people who let the numbers tell the story. The celebration piece matters more than most people realize. When you hit a daily target, when you see a positive trend, When you spot improvement in a key metric, you need to acknowledge that win. Not with a 3-hour party, but with a moment of recognition that your system is working and your efforts are paying off. This positive reinforcement strengthens the behaviors that create wealth. Your brain starts connecting the daily actions with the positive feedback, making it easier to repeat those actions tomorrow. Success becomes a habit instead of an accident. The simplest effective dashboard has 4 elements: money coming in this week compared to last week, new prospects contacted this week compared to last week, deals in progress compared to last month, money going out this week compared to budget. These 4 numbers tell you everything you need to know to make smart decisions today. Update these numbers the same time every day, preferably first thing in the morning before distractions take over. Make it a non-negotiable part of your daily routine, like brushing your teeth or drinking your first cup of coffee. The consistency matters more than the complexity. When one number goes the wrong direction, dig deeper that day. Don't wait until the weekend or next week or next month. Figure out why new prospect contacts dropped and fix it immediately. Discover why money going out spiked and address it today. Fast corrections prevent small problems from becoming big disasters. The goal isn't perfect numbers every day. The goal is perfect awareness of your numbers every day. Some days will be better than others, but you'll never again wonder where you stand or what needs to change. You'll have a clear picture of your progress and a reliable system for staying on track toward wealth. Track everything that matters. Ignore everything that doesn't. Update daily, review quickly, adjust immediately, and celebrate progress. This simple practice separates dreamers from millionaires more than any other single habit. The numbers will set you free, but only if you have the courage to look at them every single day. 15. Risk small, test fast. The millionaire's greatest advantage isn't their capital or connections. It's their willingness to be wrong quickly and cheaply. While others debate and deliberate, millionaires run experiments. They test assumptions in the real world rather than in their heads. They understand that markets reward action over analysis, and that small bets compound into massive wins. Most people treat every decision like a life or death choice. They spend weeks researching the perfect solution, gathering opinions, and building elaborate plans. Meanwhile, the millionaire has already tested 3 different approaches, killed 2 that didn't work, and scaled the one that showed promise. The difference isn't intelligence or resources. It's the recognition that cheap experiments eliminate expensive mistakes. Sarah ran a small consulting practice and dreamed of creating an online course. For 6 months, she researched platforms, outlined modules, and polished her content. She wanted everything perfect before launching. Down the hall, Mark had the same idea, but took a different approach. He sent an email to 50 past clients offering a live workshop for $200. 12 people signed up within a week. He delivered the workshop over video calls, recorded the sessions, and had his course content validated and ready for sale. While Sarah was still perfecting slide templates, Mark had generated $2,400 and proven demand for his topic. The millionaire mind operates on a simple principle: the market is the ultimate judge. No amount of internal planning can substitute for real-world feedback. Customer reactions, sales numbers, and engagement metrics reveal truth that focus groups and surveys never will. Every day becomes an opportunity to test something small and learn something valuable. This doesn't mean being reckless. Smart testing requires boundaries. The millionaire sets clear limits on time, money, and energy for each experiment. They might spend $50 testing a new marketing message rather than $5,000 launching a full campaign. They'll commit 2 hours to trying a new process instead of 2 weeks implementing an untested system. The key is keeping the downside small while leaving the upside unlimited. Consider David, who owned 3 restaurants. Instead of renovating all his locations based on a hunch about customer preferences, he tested changes in one section of one restaurant first. He moved 2 tables to create more open space and tracked customer flow for a week. When satisfaction scores improved, he expanded the test to the entire restaurant. Only after seeing consistent results across a full month did he invest in renovating the other locations. His small test saved him from potentially wasting tens of thousands on changes customers might have disliked. Speed becomes crucial because market conditions change rapidly. The opportunity window that exists today might close tomorrow. While competitors plan and prepare, the Millionaire captures market position through rapid testing and iteration. They understand that being first with an imperfect solution often beats being perfect but late. The daily habit starts with identifying one small assumption to test. Maybe it's a belief about what customers want, how much they'll pay, or which marketing message resonates most. Instead of assuming the answer, the Millionaire designs a quick way to find out. They might send 2 different email subject lines to half their list each. They could offer the same service at different price points to see what the market accepts. They might change one element of their sales process and measure the impact. Time limits, force clarity, and action. Setting a 48 to 72-hour window creates urgency and prevents overthinking. This doesn't mean stopping successful tests early, but rather having clear criteria for what success looks like and when to make the evaluation. If the test shows promise, it gets more resources and time. If it fails, it gets killed quickly and cleanly. The most successful millionaires treat failure as data rather than defeat. Each unsuccessful test eliminates one wrong path and points toward better options. They maintain detailed records of what they tried, what happened, and what they learned. These insights compound over time, creating a deep understanding of what works in their specific market and situation. Rachel built a $1 million business by testing constantly. Every week, she tried something new. Different headlines on her website, new ways of describing her services, alternative pricing structures, or fresh approaches to customer follow-up. Most tests produced small improvements, but occasionally she'd discover something that dramatically increased results. Over time, these incremental gains compounded into substantial competitive advantages. Her willingness to test meant her business evolved continuously, while competitors remained static. The testing mindset extends beyond marketing and sales into operations, hiring, and strategic decisions. Before committing to a new software system, the Millionaire tests it with one department. Before expanding into a new market, they start with one geographic area or customer segment. Before hiring full-time employees, they might engage contractors or part-time workers first. This approach requires emotional detachment from ideas. The Millionaire falls in love with problems worth solving, not with specific solutions. When a test fails, they feel curious rather than defensive. They ask what the failure teaches them about customer needs, market dynamics, or their own assumptions. This objectivity allows them to pivot quickly and try new approaches without ego getting in the way. Documentation becomes essential for maximizing learning. Each test gets recorded with clear details about what was tried, what metrics were tracked, what results occurred, and what insights emerged. This creates a valuable database of market intelligence that informs future decisions. Patterns emerge that reveal deeper truths about customer behavior and business dynamics. The daily practice also includes scheduling time for analysis and decision-making about ongoing tests. The Millionaire doesn't just launch experiments and forget them. They actively monitor results and make deliberate choices about what to continue, modify, or abandon. This regular review prevents resources from being wasted on tests that have already presented enough, provided their insights. Risk tolerance grows through practice. Starting with very small tests builds confidence and skills. As the Millionaire becomes more skilled at designing experiments and interpreting results, they can take slightly larger risks while maintaining the same principles. The person who starts by testing $5 advertising campaigns eventually becomes comfortable testing $1,000 initiatives, but always with clear boundaries and success criteria. The compound effect of daily testing creates businesses that evolve rapidly and stay ahead of changing conditions. While others struggle to adapt to new circumstances, the Millionaire's business remains flexible and responsive because it's built on a foundation of continuous experimentation and learning. Every single day presents opportunities to test assumptions, try improvements, and gather market intelligence. The Millionaire seizes these opportunities systematically, turning daily operations into a laboratory for growth and optimization. This habit transforms businesses from static entities into dynamic learning organizations that compound advantages over time. 16. Protect the downside. The most successful people in the world share one trait that gets overlooked in every rags to riches story. They're paranoid about losing what they've built. While everyone else chases the next shiny opportunity, millionaires spend time each day thinking about what could go wrong and building walls around their wealth. This isn't pessimism, it's mathematics. In the wealth game, losing 50% of your money means you need a 100% gain just to break even. Lose 75%, and you need a 300% return to get back to where you started. The numbers don't lie. Protecting what you have matters more than most people realize. Think about a castle. The walls aren't built because the king expects to be attacked tomorrow. They're built because over enough time, an attack becomes inevitable. Your wealth needs the same kind of thinking. Not because disaster is certain, but because preparing for it is the difference between temporary setbacks and permanent damage. Every morning, successful people look at their business and personal situation through the lens of risk. They ask themselves what single thing, if it went wrong today, could set them back months or years. Then they spend a portion of their day building protection against that possibility. This starts with the basics that most people ignore until it's too late. Your legal structure isn't just paperwork. It's a firewall between your personal assets and business risks. The right business entity can mean the difference between losing a business and losing everything you own. But setting it up once isn't enough. Laws change, situations evolve, and what protected you 5 years ago might leave you exposed today. Smart money reviews these protections regularly, not just when problems appear. They check that their business insurance actually covers what they think it covers. They make sure their personal liability protection hasn't been accidentally compromised by mixing business and personal expenses. They keep their corporate records updated because a judge won't protect a business that doesn't act like one. The same thinking applies to the operational side of any business or investment. Every system has failure points, and successful people identify them before they break. If your income depends on one major client, that client becomes your biggest risk. If your business runs through one key person, that person becomes a potential disaster. If all your money flows through one bank account, that account becomes a single point of failure. The daily habit here isn't complicated, but it requires discipline. Each day, you look at your operation and ask where the weak spots are. Maybe today you realize that all your client contracts expire around the same time, creating a cash flow cliff 6 months from now. Maybe you notice that your business bank account has grown large enough that it exceeds insurance limits. Maybe you spot a recurring expense that's been growing without oversight. The key is catching these things while they're still manageable. It's much easier to diversify your client base when you don't desperately need new clients. It's simpler to set up additional bank accounts when you're not dealing with a frozen account. It's cheaper to fix a process when it's just inefficient, not when it's already broken. Money management follows the same principle. Wealthy people don't keep all their money in one place, not because they don't trust their bank, but because they understand that concentration creates vulnerability. They spread their funds across different institutions, different account types, and different levels of accessibility. Some money needs to be immediately available for opportunities and emergencies. Some money should be harder to access, protected from both external threats and internal impulses. This isn't about becoming a financial fortress that never takes risks. It's about building enough protection that you can take bigger risks with confidence. When you know your downside is covered, you can be more aggressive with your upside. The entrepreneur who knows their family's living expenses are covered for 2 years can make different decisions than someone living paycheck to paycheck, even if both people have the same income. Tax planning fits into this same defensive framework. Taxes aren't just an annual event, they're a daily consideration for anyone building serious wealth. Every financial decision has tax implications, and those implications compound over time. The person who thinks about taxes only in April loses money every other month of the year. This means keeping proper records as you go, not scrambling to recreate them later. It means understanding which accounts and investments provide tax advantages and using them systematically. It means working with professionals before you need them desperately, when their advice can be strategic rather than just reactive. Personal security becomes more important as wealth grows. but it's often overlooked until something goes wrong. This includes digital security, because more wealth means becoming a more attractive target for increasingly sophisticated scams. It includes physical security, because success makes you more visible and potentially more vulnerable. It includes information security, because the details of your financial life become more valuable to people who might misuse them. The daily practice here is simple awareness. You pay attention to who has access to your financial information and why. You notice when something about your routine or security changes. You stay educated about common threats and protect against them before they find you. Estate planning falls into the same category of protection that people postpone until it feels urgent, which is exactly when it becomes expensive and complicated. The documents that protect your wealth and your family don't improve by waiting. They get more complex as your situation evolves, and they become more critical as your responsibilities grow. But beyond the legal and financial protections, successful people protect something even more valuable: their reputation and relationships. These assets can take decades to build and minutes to destroy, and they're often worth more than any bank account balance. This means being careful about who you associate with professionally and personally. It means keeping your word, even when it's inconvenient. It means handling conflicts and disagreements in ways that preserve long-term relationships rather than just winning short-term battles. It means thinking about how your actions today will affect your reputation 10 years from now. The person who protects these softer assets often finds that they don't need as much financial protection, because their network of relationships provides opportunities and support that money alone can't buy. The person who ignores these assets often discovers that money without reputation is harder to keep and much less enjoyable to have. None of this means becoming paralyzed by potential problems or spending all your time building walls instead of bridges. The goal is to create enough protection that you can focus your main energy on offense rather than constantly worrying about defense. It's about building systems and safeguards that run in the background, protecting your downside so you can pursue your upside with confidence. The wealthiest people understand that protection isn't a one-time task, but a daily practice. They review their exposures, maintain their safeguards, and adjust their protections as their situation changes. They know that the best time to fix the roof is when the sun is shining, and they act accordingly. This defensive mindset doesn't make them conservative in their opportunities. Instead, it makes them more willing to take calculated risks because they know their foundation is secure. They can afford to be bold with their investments and aggressive with their goals because they've been careful with their protections. Your daily task is to identify one area where your downside could be better protected and take one small step to address it. Some days this might mean reviewing an insurance policy. Other days it might mean backing up important files or updating a password. Sometimes it means having a difficult conversation about a risky situation or making a phone call you've been postponing. The specific action matters less than the habit of thinking defensively every day. Protection is like exercise. A little bit every day works better than trying to catch up all at once. The person who spends 10 minutes daily maintaining their defenses will always be more secure than the person who spends 10 hours once a year, scrambling to fix problems that could have been prevented. 17. Give first, grow faster. The wealthy understand a counterintuitive truth that most people miss entirely. The fastest way to get what you want is to help others get what they want first. While ordinary earners hoard their time, connections, and knowledge like precious resources, millionaires distribute value freely and watch it return multiplied. They know that generosity is not charity, it is the most powerful form of compound interest in human relationships. Every morning, successful people wake up with one question that drives their interactions. How can I make someone else's day better today? This is not altruism disguised as business strategy. This is pure mathematics. When you consistently add value to other people's lives, you create a network of people who are naturally inclined to think of you when opportunities arise. You become the person others want to work with, refer to, and support because they have experienced firsthand how you show up in the world. The millionaire's approach to giving is both strategic and systematic. They do not wait for grand gestures or perfect moments to add value. Instead, They make small, consistent deposits into what they call their goodwill bank every single day. This might mean sending a quick message to congratulate someone on a recent win, sharing a useful resource that could solve a problem they mentioned, or making an introduction between two people who should know each other. These actions take minutes, but their impact compounds over months and years. Consider how most people approach networking events or business relationships. They show up with their hand extended, immediately asking what others can do for them. They pitch their services, request favors, and wonder why their networking efforts fall flat. The wealthy person enters the same room with a completely different mindset. They listen for problems they might solve, connections they might make, or knowledge they might share. They leave having given value to multiple people without asking for anything in return. 3 months later, when those same people encounter opportunities, guess whose name comes to mind first? This principle extends far beyond formal networking. Millionaires understand that every interaction is an opportunity to make a deposit or withdrawal from their relationship account. The person who takes time to teach a skill to a junior colleague, who shares credit publicly for team successes, who offers genuine help during someone's challenging moment, this person builds a reputation that opens doors long after the specific interaction is forgotten. They become known as someone who lifts others up, and people naturally want to be associated with that energy. The mathematics of giving first becomes even more powerful when you consider the speed at which value travels in our connected world. One person you help might mention your kindness to 5 others. One introduction you make might lead to partnerships you never could have imagined. One piece of advice you share freely might save someone months of struggle, creating loyalty that lasts decades. Your small acts of generosity become stories that spread, building your reputation as someone who genuinely cares about others' success. Wealthy people also understand the importance of giving to people who cannot immediately give back. They mentor people who are several steps behind them on the success ladder, knowing that today's struggling newcomer might become tomorrow's industry leader. They share their knowledge through teaching, writing, or speaking, not because they expect direct returns, but because they understand how abundance works. The person who hoards knowledge eventually becomes irrelevant. The person who shares it becomes indispensable. The daily practice of giving first requires you to expand your definition of what constitutes value. Sometimes the most powerful gift you can give is your attention. In a world where everyone is distracted and hurried, the person who listens fully, remembers details from previous conversations, and follows up with genuine interest stands out dramatically. Sometimes the value is access, introducing someone to a contact, including them in a group, or inviting them to an event they would not have known about otherwise. Sometimes it is information sharing, an article, a resource, or an insight that directly relates to their current challenges or goals. The key is consistency rather than magnitude. You do not need to make grand gestures or spend significant money to practice this principle. You need to develop the habit of looking for small ways to add value every single day. This might mean spending 5 minutes writing a thoughtful comment on someone's work, taking 30 seconds to share someone's achievement with your network, or investing 2 minutes to send an encouraging message to someone who is facing a difficult situation. These micro-investments in relationships compound faster than most people realize. Millionaires also practice strategic generosity by identifying the people who are 1 or 2 steps ahead of them and finding ways to add value to their lives. This is not about being calculating or manipulative. It is about recognizing that successful people are often overwhelmed with requests for their time and attention. The person who approaches with a gift rather than an ask immediately differentiates themselves. They might offer to handle a small task, share a relevant resource, or make an introduction that benefits the successful person. This approach often leads to mentorship opportunities and insider knowledge that would be impossible to obtain through traditional asking. The compound effect of giving first becomes most apparent during challenging times. When economic conditions tighten, when industries shift, or when personal crises arise, the people who have consistently added value to others' lives find themselves surrounded by a support network. Opportunities, referrals, and assistance flow toward them naturally because they have spent years building a reputation as someone worth helping. They have created what some call social insurance, a network of relationships that provide both opportunity and security. This principle also applies to how wealthy people handle recognition and credit. While most people fight to claim credit for successes, millionaires understand that sharing credit multiplies its value. When they publicly acknowledge the contributions of team members, partners, or mentors, they create loyalty and motivation that far exceeds what money alone can buy. People want to work with leaders who make them look good, who celebrate their contributions, and who help advance their careers along with their own. The practice of giving first requires you to think beyond immediate transactions to long-term relationship building. This means remembering personal details about the people in your network, following up on important events in their lives, and celebrating their wins as enthusiastically as you celebrate your own. It means being generous with introductions, recommendations, and referrals even when there is no immediate benefit to you. It means sharing valuable information, resources, and opportunities with others before you think about how to profit from them yourself. Every day, commit to making one person's life better in some small way. Send the congratulatory message, make the helpful introduction, share the useful resource, offer the encouraging word. These actions take minimal time but create maximum long-term value. Track these daily deposits in relationships the same way you track financial investments, because they are every bit as important to your wealth-building strategy. The person who consistently gives first, gives often, and gives without keeping score creates a gravitational field that attracts opportunities, partnerships, and support. They build a reputation that opens doors, creates trust, and generates the kind of goodwill that cannot be bought. In a world where everyone seems focused on taking, the person who focuses on giving becomes magnetic. Make generosity your daily practice, and watch how quickly the world begins to give back. 18. Build once, earn forever. The final secret that separates millionaires from everyone else comes down to one critical shift in thinking. While most people trade hours for dollars until the day they die, millionaires understand that true wealth comes from building assets that pay them while they sleep. They grasp that the goal is never to work harder or even smarter, but to work once and get paid forever. This principle changes everything about how you approach your day. Instead of asking, "How can I make money today?" you start asking, "What can I build today that will make me money for years?" Instead of chasing immediate gratification, you invest your most precious hours into creating systems, products, and income streams that compound over time. The wealthy understand that there are only two types of work in this world. There's work that dies when you stop doing it, and there's work that lives on and pays you long after you've moved on to something else. The first type keeps you trapped in an endless cycle of effort and exhaustion. The second type sets you free. Consider the baker who wakes up at 4 in the morning every day to make fresh bread. He works hard, serves his customers well, and earns a decent living. But if he stops working, the money stops flowing. Now consider the baker who takes time to write down his secret recipes, creates a training system, and licenses his methods to other bakeries across the country. He gets paid every time someone uses his system, whether he's awake or asleep, working or on vacation. The difference between these two bakers isn't talent, work ethic, or even opportunity. It's understanding the power of building once and earning forever. The first baker is trapped by his success. The second baker is freed by his. This shift requires you to think like an owner, not just a worker. Every day, you need to ask yourself what you're creating that will outlast your direct involvement. What knowledge are you capturing? What systems are you building? What assets are you accumulating that will generate income without requiring your constant attention? The millionaire's daily routine always includes time devoted to asset creation. They don't just complete tasks and move on. They document what they learn. They systematize what works. They turn their expertise into products, their processes into systems, and their relationships into ongoing partnerships that benefit everyone involved. Start by looking at what you already do well. What knowledge do you possess that others would pay to learn? What problems do you solve that you could solve once and package for repeated use? What systems could you create that would eliminate the need for your direct involvement in routine tasks? The key is to begin small, but begin immediately. You don't need to create a business empire overnight. You need to start thinking like someone who builds assets instead of someone who just completes tasks. Every day, invest at least some of your time in creating something that will continue working for you after today is over. Document your best practices. When you find a solution that works, don't just use it and forget it. Write it down. Turn it into a process. Create a template. Make it something you can use again and again, or something others can use while you focus on bigger challenges. Package your knowledge. You've learned things through experience that others are just beginning to figure out. Instead of helping people one at a time, create materials that can help many people simultaneously. Write down what you know. Record your insights. Create guides, templates, or systems that solve common problems in your field. Build recurring revenue streams. Look for ways to get paid multiple times for work you do once. This might mean creating products you can sell repeatedly, establishing subscription services, or building systems that generate ongoing commissions or royalties. The goal is to divorce your income from your immediate time investment. Invest in appreciating assets. Don't just spend your profits on things that lose value. Put your money into assets that grow over time and generate their own income. This creates a powerful cycle where your assets fund the creation of more assets, accelerating your journey to financial independence. The daily practice of asset building requires discipline because the payoff isn't immediate. When you spend time documenting processes or creating systems, you're not getting paid for that work today. You're investing in getting paid for that work for months or years to come. This delayed gratification separates millionaires from people who stay trapped in the cycle of trading time for money. Think about the difference between a consultant who gets paid for each hour of advice they give and a consultant who creates a comprehensive training program that teaches the same principles. The first consultant has to show up and deliver value every single time they want to get paid. The second consultant gets paid every time someone goes through their program, whether they're actively involved or not. This doesn't mean you abandon all immediate income activities. You need cash flow to survive while you're building your assets. But it does mean that every day, you dedicate some portion of your time and energy to creating things that will pay you long after you've finished creating them. The most successful people understand that their daily actions should always include a mix of immediate income generation and long-term asset building. They handle today's responsibilities while simultaneously creating tomorrow's freedom. They serve current clients while building systems that will serve future clients without their direct involvement. As you develop this mindset, you'll start to see opportunities everywhere. You'll notice repeated questions that could be answered once in a comprehensive guide. You'll identify processes that could be systematized and licensed to others. You'll recognize your unique insights that could be packaged into valuable products. The compound effect of asset building is remarkable. Each asset you create makes the next one easier to build. Each system you develop gives you more time to develop additional systems. Each product you launch teaches you lessons that make your next product better. Over time, you build momentum that transforms not just your income, but your entire relationship with work. Assets don't have to be complicated or expensive to create. A simple checklist that saves people time has value. A basic template that helps people avoid common mistakes has value. A straightforward process that gets consistent results has value. Start where you are, with what you know, using what you have. The path to lasting wealth isn't about working harder in the short term. It's about working differently every day, consistently investing time and effort into building things that will work for you long after you've moved on to your next challenge. Make asset building a non-negotiable part of your daily routine, and watch as your relationship with money transforms from scarcity and stress to abundance and freedom. Your future self will thank you for every hour you invest today in building once so you can earn forever.